Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Nope, happy Thursday. Why do I always do that? I'm so sorry. It is Thursday. You've made it more than halfway through the week. And I'm super happy you're here. So what we are doing today is we're going to continue on with our Unit 2. Now, last class period, we talked about comparing governments, and we talked a little bit about economics, and I had you do 2 assignments, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to finish talking about economics, and we're going to move into development as well. You do not have 2 assignments today, which is very awesome. You just have your economic systems, okay? So you only have 1 assignment. It is due today. You don't have to worry about anything over the weekend, okay? So what I need everybody to do is in your digital notebook, go ahead and open up your notes. Now remember we did the first half or so, not really half, but we did the first bit together. So again, this is what we did with government. This is what we did on Tuesday, and today we're going to finish everything else. So it's about 2.5 pages, but you can see here there's really not that much going on. Okay, so we're going to talk about economic systems, then I'm going to explain your homework, and then we're going to move into development. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with traditional economy. Now, y'all did really well on the economic activity, so we're not going to go through that again. If you're like, I did really bad and I really do have some questions about it, please reach out to me. But for the most part, y'all did really well. Most of you guys only got like 1 wrong, so we're not going to bother with it again today. But what we are going to talk about is going to be our economic systems. Now, there are 4 different main versions of economic systems, and it's going to be traditional, free enterprise, socialist, and communist. Now, in a traditional economy, those 3 big questions, and remember those 3 questions are what are we going to produce, how are we going to produce it, and who is going to get it. Those are all answered by tradition. So people are going to meet their basic needs much as their ancestors did. So this dude right here, you can probably tell that he has been farming the exact same way, and his family has been farming the exact same way for hundreds of years. Okay, there's not going to be a lot of change. So people meet their basic needs much as their ancestors did, and the economic decisions are going to be made due to customs and beliefs that are handed down from one generation to another. So again, not a lot of change. You know exactly what you're going to do when you're born because it's the same thing your family's been doing for generations. Now, there are 2 characteristics, and the first one is subsistence agriculture. And this just means that farmers are only growing enough to feed themselves, okay? My modern day take is this is farmers markets. You're growing enough to feed yourself, maybe a few neighbors. You're not going to be able to sell it to grocery stores. You're not like a mass farm, okay? You're only selling enough to feed yourself and your family. The other aspect is going to be cottage industry. Now, cottage industry is when you're making goods at home by hand. So you can see here these 2 ladies are making baskets. My modern day equivalent is Etsy. You're making things at home, you're selling it. But again, everything's going to be individual. Nothing's going to be the same. Everything is done by hand, okay? Historically, this was done by the whole family. Next, we have free enterprise economy or a market economy or capitalism. Now, these are the same thing, okay? It's 3 different words, but it's all the same thing. Now, this is what we have in the United States, okay? And this is all about the money. Money, 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 okay? So the questions are going to be answered by the people. So people can decide what they want to produce and what they want to buy. And depending on what people want to buy is what's going to be produced. Okay, this is called supply and demand. And prices are going to be set by this. So say, for example, a year ago, we had 50 cents on a tiny bottle of hand sanitizer. And that's because there was a decent amount of hand sanitizer in the market, but the demand wasn't very high. So there was lots of supply, little demand, prices were low. Fast forward to today, where there's not very many hand sanitizers on the market, but everybody needs it. So the supply is little and the demand is high, which causes that same 50-cent bottle of hand sanitizer to now be $5. Okay, so that's what supply and demand means. And supply and demand is a very big part of a market economy. Okay. Again, this is all about the money. Okay, so if you are not producing efficiently, you're going to go out of business, and the government really isn't going to interfere. Okay, every once in a while, the government will step in and be like, hey, that's illegal. Don't do that. But for the most part, they're hands off. They're going to let businesses and people do what they need to do in order to make that money. Okay. Now, in socialism or a socialist economy, the questions are answered by the government, but not everything is owned by the government. So the government is going to own some basic industries, but they're also going to allow for private ownership of smaller businesses. The government is mostly going to run the schools, healthcare, banking, sometimes agriculture, like farming, but there is that private ownership.
Good morning, Titans. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which...
Sorry about that. We had the announcements come in. So because the government owns those public services, they are going to be able to provide low cost or even free services there. Okay, so like Canada and a lot of European countries have universal healthcare where it's not necessarily free, but it is really cheap. Okay. Next up, we have a communist economy. So communism is where everything is answered and run by the government. Okay, so the government is going to say, what are we producing? How are we producing it? And who's going to get it? And they are going to get, they're going to set goals. Sorry, the word's right in front of me, but I couldn't think of it. They're going to set goals that they're going to meet based on what those answers are. Okay, so the theory behind communism is that everybody works together, then you pool the money in, and then everybody shares equally. This isn't necessarily fair. This is the opposite of capitalism, where it's all about the money and personal gain. And so in a communist economy, private property is gone. There are no private businesses. You can obviously own your house and all that, but you're not going to run a business. Okay. So what happens? Oops, no, I still have the most important slide. I almost forgot. I'm sorry, y'all. This is going to be the super important slide. Okay. So in a traditional economy, there is no government interference. In a free enterprise economy, there is little to no government interference. In a socialist economy, the government owns some businesses. And in a communist economy, there is complete government ownership. Okay. So this is an important slide because this is going to help you on your assignment. Now, what your assignment is going to be this economic systems. So what you are going to do is, I'll do the first one with y'all, but understand that 1 means complete government involvement, 2 is some, 3 is little, 4 is none. Okay. So what you're going to do is, there are 5 different countries: the United Kingdom, Canada, Cuba, Germany, and the United States. And there's a paragraph for each one. Now, if you need to, you can have it read aloud to you.
In the United Kingdom, citizens answer.
Okay. You can translate it if you need to. Do whatever you need to get it done. But what you're going to do is, you're going to read this paragraph, and then you're going to decide, is it complete, some, little, or none? And you have to tell me why you put it there. You can't put, because I think that's where it goes. No, you have to give me a reason. Okay. So we're going to do this first one together. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of rushing because I'm a little bit squished for time this morning. So if you have questions, please reach out to me and let me know. But for the United Kingdom, it says, in the United Kingdom, citizens answer the basic economic questions. Now there's your first hint, because only one system has the citizens answer. Citizens own the factors of production, and prices of goods are set by supply and demand. That's your second hint, supply and demand. Like the United States, third hint, the United Kingdom is largely a service-based economy, but also has an extremely efficient agricultural sector. The private sector produces goods and services for domestic, so within the nation, and international, so outside the nation, markets based on the product price system, which is also known as supply and demand. Industries have much economic freedom in the United Kingdom. Fourth hint, However, there have been recent moves for the government to partially control the banking industry and substantially regulate other industries. Okay? So based on those 4 hints, what would you place it at? Complete government involvement, some government involvement, little government involvement, or no government involvement. So say you think it's a 2 because government partial control. You can copy this, paste it in here. Full disclosure, I'm not going to accept this answer. 2 is not the right answer, okay? So make sure you have it right. Because there are 10 questions, each one is worth 10 points, okay? So make sure you are thinking this through. And again, you can't put, oh, that's what I think, okay? You need to tell me why. Once you're done, you're going to hit next. You're going to hit next 4 times, and then you're going to hit submit because there are 5 sections, okay? So just hit next, next, next. Please don't, okay? And that is your actual assignment for today. But you are not done for the day, okay? We still have some pages in our notes. We still have this last section and this page. There is not an assignment for this page, but I can guarantee this is super important and I need you to get these notes done, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and keep going on the notes for economic development. So go ahead and pause here so you can do that assignment. And when you are done, come on back to the video. So economic development tells how advanced an economy is. And there are 3 indicators, or I'm sorry, they're not indicators. There are 3 categories. There's more developed nation, newly industrialized, or less developed. And how you get these labels depends on the following indicators. So all of the indicators combine to create your Human Development Index. So HDI was developed by the United Nations in order to rank countries based on their level of economic development, gender and social equality, and the quality of life enjoyed by their citizens. So in this picture, the darker the green, the better the HDI is. Then it goes to lighter green, light red, and then red, okay? And I believe this was from 2018, I believe. Now, the first indicator is going to be demographic. Now, demographic stands for population, the study of people. So these indicators are going to be your life expectancy, the average number of years people live, your birth and death rates, how many people are born or die per 1,000 in a year, and your infant mortality rate, which is the number of infants who die for every 1,000 births. Next is economic indicators, which tells how well the economy is performing. Again, anytime you hear the word economic or economy, think of that money. Okay, it's all about the money, how we make money, how we spend money. So economic indicators, there are 2. It's GDP. It's GDP, which stands for gross domestic product. And what that means, it's the total value of all goods and services produced by a nation in a year. So this isn't just like, oh, we're producing cars. It's also like, oh, the teachers and the waiters and the cashiers and the actors, all of that included in it, okay? And then we have GDP per capita, which is just you're taking that number and you're dividing it by the total number of people in the country. Next, we have social indicators. Now, there are more social indicators, but the biggest one, the most important one, is going to be the literacy rate. And that simply stands for the percentage of people who can read and write. So in this graph, the lighter the color is, the higher your literacy rate is. And the darker it is, the lower it is. I'm a Russian young. So you can see here, again, Africa, they're struggling. They have some literacy rate issues. And now I don't want you to think that Africa is like this dark place where everybody lives in huts and nothing. Africa is very advanced, okay? It's just as a whole, because of colonization of these other countries coming in and saying Africa's mine, they're a little bit behind, okay? But that doesn't make them bad or backwards or poor, okay? Next, we have political indicators, which is simply your level of freedom. Okay, so the degree of democracy and voting rights. Who can vote? How old do you have to be to vote? Level of human rights, the degree of government oppression, tolerance of different points of view. Okay, if you have a different point of view, is someone going to murder you? Now, this is the most important one. So less developed nations have a high birth rate and infant mortality rate, has high population size, low GDP per capita, and a low literacy rate. And they are mostly going to be that primary economic activity. They're mostly gathering materials. Newly industrialized is going to be moving into secondary economic activities. Again, this is where you are manufacturing. And a more developed nation is going to have a low birth rate and infant mortality rate, stable population growth, high GDP per capita and literacy rate, and it's going to be tertiary or quaternary economic activities. Now, again, I know I rushed through this, so if you have questions, please reach out to me and let me know. But otherwise, this is it. So you had the 2 note sections, economy and development, and your economic spectrum is your grade. When we come back on Tuesday, we are going to be talking more about population, so more about this population growth, birth rate, infant mortality rate, all of that jazz. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all next class period. Bye, y'all.